Okay. Hi everyone, I am Chimolder15 and welcome to part 2 of an overview of English tenses, moods, voices, and aspects. Okay, so if you recall, last time we talked about the indicative mood and the subjunctive mood, as well as all the tenses and aspects in those moods. So if you recall, there are 12 tenses in the indicative mood, not including the conditional. So I'm not including the would forms, which is like what I forgot what it's called, future of the past, or something like that. I'm not talking about those forms. I'm talking about the present, past, and future forms. Because remember, there are 3 grammatical tenses in English: present, past, and future, and they each have 4 forms. So all of them for the present tense would be the present simple, present continuous, past simple, and past continuous. Oh shoot, my bad. I meant present perfect and present perfect continuous. I need sleep. Okay. There. Now that makes more sense. And now we have the past simple, past continuous, past perfect, and past perfect continuous. And then we have the future simple, future continuous, future perfect, and the future perfect continuous. There. And that summarizes all of the different tense and aspect combinations in the indicative mood. And for the subjunctive mood, if you recall, we have 4 forms in the present tense: the present simple, present continuous, and let me add something here. And then present perfect, and present perfect continuous. And then we have the past simple subjunctive, past continuous subjunctive, and then let's see, past perfect subjunctive, and then the past perfect or continuous, whatever, both progressive and continuous subjunctive. Okay, and that would summarize the. Let me edit this a bit. Okay, how do you... There we go. Okay, and this would be the subjunctive mood. Okay, so you have 8 different combinations for the subjunctive mood, because remember, we don't have a future subjunctive in English. That's something that you find in Spanish and Portuguese. More so in Portuguese, because in Spanish it's never really used nowadays. But in English we don't have that. So we just have the present and past tenses. And there are 4 different combinations, 3 of which you really don't need, but you will need to know the other 5. So keep that in mind. Okay, so now let's talk about the conditional mood. So the conditional mood. Okay. So the conditional mood, we use this when we want to express what needs to happen in order for something else to happen. So for those of you who have some experience in programming, think about if-then statements, where you have a condition And if that condition is met, then you get a result, right? So if this, then this. Or if that, then that. If this, then that. If that, then this. Whatever. So in those cases, not always, but sometimes you would use a conditional mood. I should probably talk about conditionals overall first. So let's talk about conditionals. Let me review conditionals really fast. So if you recall, there are, well, technically 5 types of conditionals. 6 if you count both, like, because there are like, you have the 0 conditional, the first conditional, the second conditional, the third conditional, and then 2 types of mixed conditionals. So that would be 6 actually. 6. So again, you have the, oh crap, I closed out of it. Okay, you have the, stop! Damn! Okay, you have the 0 conditional, the first conditional, the second conditional, I can't type today, wow, the third conditional, and the, let's see, mixed conditional 1, and it can be mixed conditional 2, and like it can, mixed conditional 1 and mixed conditional 2, I mean, and you could like, and these could be classified as either, like, you'll see what I mean, like those don't, like, sometimes mixed conditional 1 will refer to a certain type, and sometimes mixed conditional 2 will refer to the other. You'll see what I mean, because if you recall, and for the second conditional and third conditional, you have, well, actually here, let me do this. Well, first, let me type these out so that you guys have, because I don't want to get too ahead of myself. Let's type these out. So there are 6 types of conditionals. Let me just take this one at a time. One step at a time. So 6 types of conditionals. Oh my god. You have the 0 conditional, the first conditional, the second conditional, the third conditional, mixed conditional 1, and mixed conditional 2. Okay, so as I said, these sentences are used, well, conditional, like if-then statements in general, they have they have a condition and a result. So if that condition is met, you get a result. And this goes for all the conditionals. Now, the types of verbs you'll be using, that depends on the conditional, but they all follow a similar concept. So for the 0 conditional, we use that when we want to talk about things that are true, that are always true. So for example, if you heat water, it boils. Well, if you heat it enough, I should say. If you heat water enough, it boils. That's a 0 conditional. That's an example of a 0 conditional. Because it's always true. And for not true? What? Am I failing at chemistry now? What? What? Okay, hold on one moment. Critical point. Wait, what is this? I know not what you speak of. Sorry, I have not gotten that far in chemistry. But let me just provide another example. So, how about this? If you are human, then you breathe. Right? Now that's always true, because you can't be human and not breathe. You can't, right? If you are human, then you breathe. You breathe air. Or whatever. If you are human, then you breathe. If you are human, then you breathe. This is always true. If you are human and alive, you're just testing me. Stop testing me. Stop testing me. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Yeah, you get it. Whatever, you get it. Anyway. No, I'm kidding. I know he's just being silly. But yeah, if you are human and alive, then you breathe. You get the idea. And for that, we use the present simple, right? The present simple indicative. Let me make sure I specify the mood. If present simple indicative, then present simple indicative. That's how the sentence works. If present simple indicative, then present simple indicative. If you are human, are, this is the present simple indicative form, right? Are, then you breathe. If you are human and alive, then you breathe. So, present simple indicative, present simple indicative. You see how this works, right? If you are human and alive, then you breathe. So that's how the zero conditional works. It talks about things that are always true. Okay, so now let's talk about the first conditional. The first conditional talks about things that are that are likely to happen, like very, very possible. They're not it doesn't necessarily have to be true for a first conditional. It just has to seem very plausible or possible. So, for example, let me see, I'm trying to, okay, so, okay, let me fix this a bit, because I know, there, okay, so, okay, so let me type this stuff out. And let me type out the formula too. Okay, so this is the first conditional. If present simple indicative, then future simple. If you finish your homework, then we will go to the park. If you finish your homework, then we will go to the park. So finish, that's the present simple indicative, and then the future simple would be will go. So if you finish your homework, then we will go to the park. And here, this doesn't necessarily have to be true, because someone might fail to finish their homework. So we don't know if they'll finish their homework. But the point here is that with the first conditional, we refer to things that are very much possible. They may finish their homework, they may not. We don't know. But that's how the first conditional works. We talk about things that are very possible. If this happens, then this will happen. So that's how the first conditional works. Of course, it could refer to things that are true as well. But what the point I'm making here is that it doesn't necessarily have to be true. Like for example, if you come to school on time, then you won't get in trouble for being late anyway. I mean, that's true. But people could still use the first conditional for that. So yeah. But for the zero conditional, it's different. Things are always true with the zero conditional. Like whatever you're saying here, it has to be true. No exceptions. Okay. So you get those. But what I want you guys to pay attention to more often, like most, would be the the second and third conditionals, because those are the forms where you're going to use the would forms of verbs, the would, if you remember. So with the conditional mood, we have it. This is expressed with would. Would. So what would be the conditional form of to walk? What's a conditional form for to walk? So how would you express that with the conditional mood? What is that? And I should also point out that, well, I'll wait. Let me just wait. Oh, crap. Let me just finish this thing. Okay, there we go. No! Oh my god. There. Okay. There we go. Then, yeah, would walk. Yes, exactly. It would be would walk. But this would be the conditional simple. So that's the conditional simple. The conditional perfect is would have walked. And you can add progressive forms. So you could have a... So let me type those up as well. So... Oh, that is true, 9 Chad. That is true. I didn't take into account that, you know, water can turn directly into a gas. Okay. So here are the different forms of would. Would walk, conditional simple. Would be walking, conditional continuous or progressive. You can say either one. Would have walked, conditional perfect. And would have been walking, conditional perfect continuous or conditional perfect progressive. So, okay, so knowing this, let's talk about the second conditional. So in the second conditional, we talk about things that are imaginary. We talk about present imaginary scenarios. So for example, let me do this. Oh my god, my fingers are all over the place today. Okay. No, I did not mean to strike through. I am dumb. Okay, let's see. There. Okay, so... Okay, so... This is just a quick overview. I'm not going to go into these in great detail. So okay. So here's an example with the second conditional. If past simple subjunctive, then conditional simple. So that's the formula for it. So if I were taller, I would play basketball. So you can see that were is the past simple subjunctive, and then the conditional simple would be would play. If I were taller, I would play basketball. So that's how the second conditional is formed, and that's how it works. You refer to imaginary or hypothetical scenarios in the present. If I were taller, I would play basketball. But I'm not tall, so I won't play basketball because I'm short as hell. Oh well. You win some, you lose some. Anyway, that's the second conditional. So the third conditional is similar, but this is a past situation, a past imaginary situation. So the difference is just the timing. Okay, so let me copy this because I am lazy. Okay. Okay, my bad. Hold on one moment. Okay, there we go. So this is the third conditional. If I had been more careful, I wouldn't have dropped the vase. So here, oh wait, let me add something here. If I'd been more careful earlier, let's make that past thing more obvious. Okay, so if past perfect subjunctive, then conditional perfect. So that is the formula for the third conditional. So if I had been more careful earlier, so that's the past perfect subjunctive, had been, which is the same as the past perfect indicative in form, if you remember, then conditional perfect. I wouldn't have dropped the vase. So wouldn't have dropped is the conditional perfect. If I had been more careful earlier, I wouldn't have dropped the vase. If past perfect subjunctive, then conditional perfect. So here we have an imaginary scenario taking place entirely within the past. So with the second conditional, you have a present condition, a present condition with a present result. If you're taking growth hormones, no, don't be doing that. No, don't be doing that. Please. There are children present. But anyway, with the third conditional, you have a past condition with a past result. If I had gone to the bar, I would have been drunk. Exactly. Exactly. See, you get it. If I had worn my seatbelt, I wouldn't have been killed. But wait, how can I say that if I'm dead? Oh well. Anyway. With the second conditional, you have a present condition with the present result. With the third conditional, you have a past condition with a past result. Right? It's like, how can you say that when you're dead? But anyway. And of course, you can actually mix the two. You can mix the tenses here. So you could have or the timing, I mean. You could have a present condition with the past result, or a past condition with a present result. And these could either of those situations could be called mixed conditional 1 or 2. But just to make things simpler, I will call mixed conditional 1 present condition with past result. That is true. You could say it if you were in if you were in that situation, right? You could. If I had been more careful earlier, I wouldn't have eaten a pound of nails and gotten tetanus. Oof, rip. Anyway. It's like, that's why you vaccinate. But anyway. Let's see. Actually, let me do it this way. Tetanus is the smallest problem you'd be facing. True. You'd also face a lot. You'd also have like a lot of internal damage. Like I can imagine your insides just being ripped to shreds. Right? It's like 1,000,000 damage. Tetanus is the smallest problem you'd be facing, right? but think about that combined with all the internal damage. That would be absolute torture. Holy crap. But yeah, mixed conditional 1. Yeah, tetanus is like poison damage. So you have like physical damage and poison damage. And when you have both, you die. Well, you're likely to die. Anyway. But yeah, with mixed conditional 1, you have a past condition, sorry, I didn't mean to say conditional, past condition with the present result. A mixed conditional 2 would be present condition with the past result. And some websites might say that mixed conditional 1 is just present condition with past result, mixed conditional 2 would be past condition with present result. I don't care how you classify these, it doesn't matter. Either way, you have 2 mixed conditionals. So regarding mixed conditional number 1, what's the example of that? Okay, well, knowing this, all we just have to do is apply our formula. If past perfect, perfect. If past perfect subjunctive, then conditional simple. If I had gotten my college degree, I would have a better job. Of course, that's not necessarily guaranteed, but, you know, this is just an example. Anyway, this is an example of mixed conditional number 1. If past perfect subjunctive, then conditional simple. If I had gotten my college degree, like years ago, for example, I would have a better job now. So this is mixed conditional 1. So let me add time markers to make this more obvious. So if I had gotten my college degree years ago, I would have a better job now. Oops. There we go. I would have a better job now. So that's mixed conditional 1. If past perfect subjunctive, then conditional perfect. So here you have a past condition with a present result. And you can go in the other direction with mixed conditional number 2. So you could say, well, let me type out the formula first. Let's see. Oh, wait, hold on one moment. Let me go and get my laptop cooling fan because I'm afraid that my laptop will do a big die or some crap like that. So one moment. I'm trying not to like trigger it. Okay. Okay, there we go. Let's not trigger my laptop. My laptop shall not be triggered. Let me just unplug this and... One moment. Sorry, guys. I meant to do this before. Okay. Let me just plug that in over here. Okay. There. And now all I just have to do is plug the fan in. Where? Oh, there it is. Dang, my friend's calling me, but I can't call right now. I wanted him to call me before I started class. I'm afraid he'll just have to wait. That's okay. Oh, sorry, I hit the mic. Okay. Anyway, why are you fixated on nails? Yeah, exactly. Why? Why are you fixated on nails? And I don't mean those stupidly long acrylic nails that some women have that makes literally handling anything impractical, like just impossible. I mean, like how do they use that crap? Like how does that work? But anyway, other examples for conditionals 2 and 3. If I didn't eat those nails, I would be alive. In that case, I would use the past perfect subjunctive. So I would say if I hadn't eaten those nails, I would be alive. But people do say that as well. Although it's not as precise, but, you know, like, it's just, whatever. As long as people understand you, then whatever. It personally triggers me a bit, but it's just whatever. You know, that's language. If I had not eaten those nails, I would not have died. Yes, true. Okay, sorry. If past simple subjunctive, then conditional perfect. It's perfect. But anyway. Okay. There we go. Okay, so here is the this is mixed conditional number 2. If past simple subjunctive, then conditional perfect. If I didn't have to be at school now, I would have stayed home this morning. If I didn't have to be at school now, I would have stayed home this morning. So you can see that here we have a present condition with a past result. And you're probably wondering how on earth that makes sense. Well, that's just how grammar works. Because if you think about it, it's a retroactive thing. So in a way, you have the present affecting the past. At least semantically. I don't know. Like that's just like if you look back from the present to the past, and in a way it does make sense. But yeah, that's how mixed conditional 2 works. Any med students here to give me advice? Nah, fam, sorry. At first, I actually wanted to be a doctor, but I was like, nah, I don't really feel like spending a long time being a doctor. Sorry, not sorry. But if you're dedicated enough, you'll do anything. So, but I don't want it that badly. So nope. Anyway, that's mixed conditional 2. If he hadn't eaten those nails, he wouldn't have needed surgery. True. And you could even say if he hadn't eaten those nails, he wouldn't need surgery. So that works too. And if you twist it a bit, you could make the second conditional work. You could say, if he didn't eat those nails, as in he eats them on a regular basis. If he didn't eat nails on a regular basis, then he wouldn't need surgery all the time. So you could say that. But you can't really say, if he didn't eat those nails, then he wouldn't have needed surgery. That doesn't make any sense. Not that you wouldn't hear that, some people would say that, but what they really mean to say is, if you hadn't eaten those nails, you wouldn't have needed surgery. So remember, two different tenses, don't mix those up. Anyway. Is it because it's based on inductive reasoning? What happened in the past would more likely happen in the future? I'm not sure if that's the best way to describe it. I'm not sure if that's the best way to describe it, but I just think of it as like just something that happens retroactively. Like, you're just looking back at what could have been in the past, but from a present perspective, if that makes sense. And you have other examples of this too. So you could say something like, if I were you, I wouldn't have skipped school yesterday. But I'm not you. So that's a present thing. Yet you still have a past result. A conditional past result or whatever. Yeah, like an alternative history. Yeah, you could say it like that, basically. That's one way to think about it. And as some of you have probably already guessed, you have all these conditionals in Spanish as well, but I'm not going to provide any examples because that would make this lesson a little too long. Anyway, but yeah, in Spanish you have the same exact system of conditionals, including the mixed ones. So you can do all this in Spanish too. And I'm not sure if it's the case in Portuguese as well. I don't know Portuguese, so I can't comment on that. Or French. But in Spanish, you do have these forms. You are giving better Spanish lessons than English ones. I'm trying not to! What was I going to say? I forgot. Damn. Oh, and I also forgot to mention, like, as I said, you could technically use progressive forms in any of these conditionals. Well, except for the zero conditional. I don't think there's ever a time where you use the progressive form there. But, I don't know. Or maybe you can. I don't know. But for basically the second and third conditionals, you can use progressive forms. So you could say something like this. Oh, hold on. So you could say something like this. You could actually add a continuous form in either clause, like in either the condition clause or the result clause, or you could even have both. You can even have like both ing forms, you could have both verbs in the continuous form. But normally you just have one in the continuous form, if any. But here's an example where you could have a continuous form in conditionals. If you were going to Spain, what cities would you visit? If you were going to Spain, what cities would you visit? If I didn't have to be at school, if I would have been staying at home right now. Yeah, that actually works. It's a bit more natural to use would have stayed, but would have been staying can technically work. So yeah, you get the idea. You can use ing forms here too. So you could say that. But anyway, you guys get the idea. So you have, with second and third conditionals, that's when the conditional mood would play, would sing, would have worked, would have gone. That's when you're going to see that form used. And also there are times where you can actually have the conditional mood used by itself. So you could say something like, I would never hurt I would never hurt my girlfriend. So in this case, the conditional form is being used by itself. It doesn't necessarily have to be with with an if clause that has a subjunctive in it. No. You can just have it by itself. I would never hurt my girlfriend. I would. Only yours, though. You jerk! No, but anyway. And there's also another thing about would. See, the funny thing about would is that it has a number of uses. I can't really cover all of them because some of those uses don't really reflect conditional mood usage. Like using would for politeness. That's not really a conditional use. That's not conditional. That's not conditional mood. The conditional mood, I mean. That's not really the... That's just would being used as a politeness marker. That's different. But yeah. Would can be used for multiple things. So just be careful with that. It doesn't always mean... It isn't always used to express the conditional mood in English. It can also be used to express past habits, such as I would go to my grandparents' house every week when I was a kid. Or it can be used to express politeness, such as if you wouldn't mind, could I have that pen there? So those are cases of would being used for something other than the conditional mood. So be careful. Let me actually type this out in the chat. Would isn't always a marker for the conditional mood. Keep this in mind. So the conditional mood is marked by would, but would itself doesn't always express the conditional mood. Okay. So, let's see, what else have I not covered? I think I've covered the conditional mood just fine. Okay, so I guess we should also cover the imperative mood. I already talked about reported speech, how you backshift the verb will to would. So, but I'm not, I already talked about that in a different lesson, so I'm not going to cover that here. Oh, okay, so would is called future in the past. Okay, so it's future in the past. Okay, so that's what that is. Okay. I think I said future of the past earlier, so that was wrong. Anyway. Let's talk about the imperative mood. The imperative mood. I'm in no mood for the imperative. Oh, come on. It's imperative that you join our class for the imperative mood. Jesus, kill me. Let's talk about the imperative mood. So, I think what you mean, Alien, is that could also be used for requests. Maybe that's what you mean, because actually no, I think what you mean is that it can be used in conditionals as well. I mean, technically yes, but only certain ones. Like not the second and third conditionals, obviously. Can doesn't work there. And another thing I forgot to mention. Oh, that's what you were saying. I'm sorry, I misread you. Okay. Can might express condition? Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Sometimes you can use might or could in place of would, but be careful because they all mean different things. So let me type that out. Because remember, if you recall from one of my classes in the past, in terms of certainty, would is the strongest and might is the weakest. So it would be would, then could, and then might, from most certain to least certain. So be really careful with how you use these, because there are nuances. There are different shades of meaning. And I would honestly never interchange these most of the time. Like, there are times where you could like swap might and could, and it wouldn't matter that much. But more often than not, you really should. They're quite different. So here, let me show you an example. So let me provide an example where you can use all three, but they all mean slightly different things. But yeah, would is the strongest. And might is the weakest. Yeah, if you're pretty unsure, you could just use might, or even could. It depends. But if you're pretty sure, then you should use would. Or perhaps could, maybe, if you're sure, if you're fairly sure but not really sure. But anyway, here's an example where you can use all three. If you all had worked together, you might have passed the exercise. If you all had worked together, you could have passed the exercise. If you all had worked together, you would have passed the exercise. So these are all valid, but they all mean slightly different things. The first one is just like, even if you guys would work together, it's not guaranteed that you would have passed. Whereas the second one means, there's maybe a 50-50 or like a fair chance that you would have passed the exam or exercise or whatever. And then the last one is like, yeah, you definitely would have passed if you had just worked together. Like, you're very certain. So there are different degrees of certainty. So remember, in terms of certainty, would is the strongest and might is the weakest. And could is in between. So could is like if you're fairly sure but not really sure. And again, like I don't think there's any perfect way to tell exactly which one you use. It's pretty subjective, so really, as long as you're not shooting as long as you're not overshooting your level of certainty, then really I think you can just make the right call most of the time. So in terms of certainty, would is the strongest and might is the weakest. Could is somewhere in between. Let me add that. Oh, and be careful, because there are times where could and would could actually mean very different things. Like, you could say, we could go to the library to finish our homework. That just means that it's possible, not that you actually want to do it. Whereas would mean, we would go to the library to finish our homework, but it's like you want to, but something's probably in the way. So, again, just be really careful with how you use all of these. And I wonder, some of you guys might be wondering, well, does this work with should? And I'm like, no, just no. Should is something entirely different. Just no, just no. Just no. Should doesn't count. Okay, so let's go on to the imperative. The imperative mood. What is the imperative mood? It's all about commands. Making people your... No, I'm kidding. No, it's not about that. It's just about giving commands. So, stuff like... So, wait, let me type this out. So, the imperative mood is all about commands. So, it's... In some ways, it overlaps with the subjunctive, but it's... But, you know, it's still different. The subjunctive is about, like, you know, like requests, demands, recommendations, all that stuff, but the imperative mood takes it a step forward. You just order people. You just order people around. Well, not necessarily like boss them around, just like you just give them simple orders, such as hand me that plate. Hand me that plate. Hand me that plate. Let me boldface the verb here. Boldface and italicize it. Okay, hand me that plate. So in this case, hand, that's in the imperative form. That's the imperative mood form. And for the imperative mood, all you just do is use the base form of the verb. So to hand would be just hand, right? To swim would just be swim, such as swim here. To go would be go, such as go to the library. You just use the base form of the verb. And the base form of any verb is just the verb without the to in front of it in an infinitive. So you just take the to out, and then you get the base form of the verb. Yeah, you need to have a role. You need to have the English classes role. So if you don't have that, go and talk to... go and visit the roles channel first. That's what you should always do. Check out the channels that are meant for people who are new to the server. And if that still doesn't work, if you're still struggling, then you can go and talk to the staff members. Oh, he can't hear me? Wow, I'm dumb. Ha! L, rip, F. Okay, so go to roles. I keep forgetting that if people don't have access to this class's chat, then they probably don't have access to the English classes stages either. Oh well. 9 chat, I'm worried about you. I'm worried about you. Oh, and look in my sentences. So I use the imperative forms here, right? Go to the roles channel and select English classes. So see, I'm giving commands. So really, with the imperative mood, all you just do is give a command. You're being bossy, right? I'm just handing out commands left and right. It's like, go get me some candy. It's like, spit shine my shoes. Go die. Oh, I mean, that works too. Just die. Or like if you want to be really polite, which is, I'm not sure how you could say that politely, but if you want to try to be a little bit more polite, you could say, please die. Just please die. Please die. It's like, it's polite, but at the same time it's not. So it's like, just please die. Please die. Kindly die. Please go off yourself. No, I'm kidding. Oh my god, this is so dark. Just like my skin, because I'm black. Anyway. But yeah, you guys get it. That's the imperative mood. Give me some slack. Yeah, see, that's another example. Or it should be, well, I mean, I guess that works, but I think people would more commonly say, cut me some slack. But whatever. Anyway. It's like, please, go die. Just die. It's like, no, man, you have to live. 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 Just die. But yeah. Um, but yeah, to express the difference between the imperative and subjunctive mood here, let me give you an example. Of course, the imperative, depending on how you say it, the imperative, using the imperative mood can make you seem bossy, or it can make you seem, not bossy. So it depends on how you say it, and it depends on the context as well. Okay, so here we have two different sentences. Hand me that tool. I ask that you hand me that tool. So the second one is softer compared to the first one, which has a bit more force behind it. But the first one it's not necessarily going to be rude. It depends on the context. Like if somebody's helping you fix something, then it wouldn't be rude to say, hand me that tool. But of course, if you want to be a bit more polite, you could say, hand me that tool, please. But hand me that tool itself isn't necessarily rude. It depends. You can add the please, but you don't have to. It depends on the context. Yeah, it could also be... Yeah, that's the thing. The imperative mood is also used for instructions as well. Like an instruction booklet for when you're like assembling, like putting something together. Like a wardrobe that you bought offline. The instructions are going to be in the imperative mood. Yeah, hand me that tool, will you? That too. It's like, hand me that tool. Okay, I don't mean your brother, I mean that screwdriver. Oh, sorry. It's like, did you just insult him? No, I'm kidding. It's like, give me that tool or else. Or else what? I don't know, I didn't think that far ahead. Yeah, we can tell. Anyway. Let's see. Yeah, so the subjunctive is a little bit softer here. Even though in the subjunctive you could even be forceful as well. You could even say, I demand you hand me that tool. I demand you hand me that tool. Or I suggest you give this to me now. The subjunctive can have a nasty tone to it as well. Really, any mood can. But yeah. It's like if I had been there earlier, I would have punched the man who hurt my daughter. So see, you can use a conditional mood to be threatening as well. Ha! But anyway, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, that's the imperative mood. Oh right, I forgot. The imperative mood can also have it can also be used with the progressive aspect technically. So you could say something like this. Not that it would be common to say, but you can say something like this. So you could say something like this. Although it's not common to do so, you can say something like this. Please be doing your homework when I return. Please be doing your homework when I return. But it would be more common to say something like this. Don't be talking bad about me behind my back. Now, in the negative form, the continuous is fairly common. But in the affirmative form, it's pretty rare. So you could say something like this. Don't be talking bad about me behind my back. Don't be talking bad about me behind my back. So you could say something like that. You could also just say, don't talk bad about me behind my back. That works too. So you could use either the simple or continuous form here. So you could say, and for the first one, you could also use the simple form as well. Please do your homework. Well, actually, you'd have to change that sentence a bit for it to make sense. Please do your homework before I return, or whatever. But anyway. or please start your homework before I return, or by the time I return, or whatever. But anyway, you guys get the idea. So the imperative can be used with the simple aspect and the continuous aspect. Please don't be cringe, right? Please don't be cringe. It's like, please stop slapping everyone in the building. You're going to get arrested. Please jump off a cliff. But anyway, I think that's about... Sure, cliff jumping is pretty fun. Nah, don't be using any ropes or any shit like that. Oh my god, I cursed. Oops, I'm sorry. Damn. See, I did it again. Oh well. If your friend said to jump off a cliff, would you? How high is the cliff? No, I'm kidding. No, but that's the imperative mood. I think we just about covered all of the imperative moods. Okay, so what else? Oh, right. So let's talk about infinitives, the infinitives. So if you remember, the infinitive is something like this. Oh, you have to leave? Aw. Okay, bye. No! Not poggers! Later, losers. No, you have to. If you want to sound as stereotypically mean girlish as possible, you would say something like, "Whatever, major loser," and you would sound cringe to boot. I'm sure I assaulted your ears just now. Anyway. Put in a good word for me being a teacher, though. I will not. No, I'm kidding. I will. I shall. I will. I must. I ought to. OMG, I don't have ears anymore. I'm sorry. I tend to do that with people. Two people, actually. That'd be better. I can't use prepositions today. I'm sorry. A 5,000 a recommendation letter with 5,000 words in it. Nah, I would, but that's above my pay grade. And no, I'm kidding. But yeah, see you later, Fruit Bowl. But yeah, I will try to. I said in my last lesson I would try to talk to the staff about possibly recruiting more teachers, because for whatever reason, like I think I'm surprised that there aren't more teachers active nowadays, because I know that there are a few people here who have tried to apply but haven't gotten any word or whatever. So I'm just gonna ask them if it's possible, like if there are more teachers. Like I don't know. I'll figure out what I could ask them, because they actually do say on one of the channels that they don't really want you asking about the status of your application. They really don't want you doing that. So yeah, I don't know. I'll figure out how to tiptoe around that. But anyway. Actually, after this on Wednesday, um, I plan to have one last lesson after this lesson today, and it's going to be about. No, tomorrow would be bad. Sorry, I have a lunch date tomorrow. Actually, no, no, I do. Yeah, I do. So that won't work. I have to do it on Wednesday. I have to have the class on Wednesday, which is fine. But yeah, on Wednesday I was going to have a class on feelings, all about feelings and how to express your feelings and crap and stuff like that. It's like, how do you express that you're mad or something like that? And that'll be for beginners. So it's going to be a beginner lesson. But anyway, back to infinitives. So the infinitive is formed by putting the word to before the base form of a verb. So basically the unconjugated form, like the simplest form of the verb. So like to work. Infinitive, to work, right? That's the simple infinitive. Oh, you have to go? Okay, bye, Lugo. But yeah, that's the simple infinitive. So, and the bare infinitive, and there are times where you would use a bare infinitive, but the bare infinitive is what happens when you take out the to. So the bare infinitive would be work. So instead of to work, you would just have work. And with the bare infinitive, there are plenty of cases where you would use it. Like if you want to put an auxiliary verb, such as may or could, in front of the verb work, then yeah, you'd have to use the bare infinitive. So I may work, I might work, I could work. So those are cases where you use the bare infinitive, where you have an auxiliary verb in front of another verb. I should work. Exactly. Those are cases where you use bare infinitives. So bare infinitives. Oops. Oh, sorry. Bare infinitives are often used with auxiliary verbs. So, for example, may, might, should, could. So yeah, bare infinitives, are often used with auxiliary verbs. Okay, so, and there are other auxiliary verbs, like these are just for examples. So you could have will, would, stuff like that. Now, bare infinitives are not always used with auxiliary verbs, not always. Let me point that out. They are often, but not always, used with auxiliary verbs. So here's a sentence where you use a bare infinitive, but there's no auxiliary verbs. I mean, there are no auxiliary verbs. He helped me find my toy. He helped me find my toy. So here, find is the bare infinitive. But there's no auxiliary verb. He helped me find my toy. So helped is not functioning as an auxiliary verb here. And you could also say he helped me to find my toy. You can also put a to there as well. But I don't talk like that. I take out the to. I just don't. I don't put the oops. I don't put the to in there. Some people do, I don't. But you can say that as well, but this is a case where you could use the bare infinitive. Oh, but keep in mind that there are times where this is one of those cases where you can use either the bare infinitive or the regular infinitive, but there are times where you cannot use the regular infinitive and that you have to use the bare infinitive. Like, for example, hold on. Actually, no, that's not a good example because you can technically use the regular infinitive there as well. Oh, I know. Let him speak. Let him speak. So you can't say let him to speak. No, you have to use the bare infinitive. Bare infinitive here. This is one case where you would not use the regular infinitive. Let him speak. To let him to speak. Oh my god! Ew! Ew! Oh my god. Ew, 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 ew. Let him to speak, no. And the thing is that some non-native speakers will make that mistake. Don't do it. You will sound absolutely awful. Just don't do it. Please don't do it. It sounds awful. Just stop. I helped him murder his family. I helped him to murder his family. How about that? No, I'm kidding. It's like, why are you bragging about that? Because I'm a twisted person. Anyway. I too will not to do that. Bro, that was cursed. Yeah, well, so is TV nowadays. Anyway. Let's see. What about mine? What about yours? Huh? 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 Oh yeah, and here's the thing. In English, you have 4 different types of infinitives. You got the simple infinitive. At least that's what I call it. I don't know what the official name is. I'm just gonna call it the simple infinitive or the infinitive simple. Let's do that. The infinitive simple or regular infinitive. You have the infinitive continuous. You have the infinitive perfect. Perfect infinitive, actually. Let me change that. Perfect infinitive. Let me change the naming. Hold on. Simple infinitive. And continuous. Nope. Why are your examples so dark? Should I be worried? You should be. Yeah, see, I knew it. So here you have so here you have 4 types of infinitives. You have the simple, well, technically 5 if you count the bare infinitive, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. Actually, let me go ahead and add that. Might as well be consistent. But we're not going to talk about the bare infinitive anymore. Okay. So you have 4 types of infinitives, not including the bare infinitive. So you got the simple infinitive, to work, the continuous infinitive, to be working, the perfect infinitive, to have worked, and the perfect continuous infinitive, to have been working. To have been working. Mima! Mima-chan! No, actually, no, you wouldn't use kun for woman. Never mind, sorry. I failed in weeb linguistics. Anyway. Okay, so I'm sorry. I was talking about Japanese honorifics. You know, like kun, chan, san, sama, stuff like that. Okay. So so how it's going to be a bit tricky to explain infinitives because they're technically tenseless. So they don't really have tenses. It's really just timing. The timing that's different. That was a nice surprise though how you yelled, right? Yeah, I yell quite a bit. You should see my gaming videos. I yell a crap ton in those. I've been known to get to, hurt people's ears. Sorry about that. I might be sued. Well, at least my dad's a lawyer. Anyway. No, he really is a lawyer, but I'm not. I'm just kidding about the whole being sued thing. If it wasn't already obvious, but anyway, make sure you put your volume. Make sure you have your volume down when you watch my videos. But yeah. So, how do I explain these? So, okay. So for the okay, so here, let's have an example. Let me type an example here. Yeah, actually, this is a perfect example. Let me show you guys this. So, what's the difference between these two sentences? Oops, I can't type today. I cannot grammar. I can't grammar. If I can't grammar, then I shouldn't be a teacher. No, but I know can grammar too, right? It reminds me of that one moment in The Simpsons where Ralph says, "Me fail English? That's impossible." But anyway. Bare infinitive hit. Simple infinitive to punch. Continuous infinitive to be torturing. Perfect infinitive to have murdered. Perfect continuous infinitive to have been committing 5 small genocides. I'm worried about you. That escalated quickly, or rather escalated quickly. No, God, no. That was cringe. Anyway, back to this example. I am sorry to bother you so much. I am sorry to have bothered you so much. Oh, crap. What is the difference between these two sentences? I'm sorry to bother you so much. I'm sorry to have bothered you so much. What's the difference between those two sentences? Goofy's laugh. No, but bruh. I'm sorry. I'll make you all stop cringing violently. I imagine you're all just violently cringing, like you're having convulsions, just seizures in your seat, where you just cringe so uncontrollably. Oh, OMG. Oh no. Oh no, Biba, no. No, but that was funny. Yeah, exactly. It's as Nyan Chad said. In the first sentence, you're still annoying that person. Yeah, in the first sentence, whatever you're bothering that person. That's something that's habitual. It happens in the present. Whereas the second sentence, I'm sorry to have bothered you. Yeah, it means that you bothered someone in the past and not in the present. So it's a matter of it's a matter of timing. So the first one is about the present. The second one is about the past. Oh yeah, Alien, you did comment on it. I'm sorry, and technically Mod did as well. So yeah, you three all got it right. Yeah, so yeah. That's the difference between those two. And with the progressive, you can actually add the progressive forms as well. So you could say, I'm sorry to be bothering you so much, and I'm sorry to have been bothering you so much. And if you're wondering what the difference is, there's not much of a difference. Actually, let me type these out. I might as well type all these out. There's not much of a difference with the progressive forms, other than probably like you're probably like. I think there's a slightly stronger emphasis on the duration of the action. It's like you're dramatizing it a bit more, like making it seem a bit more drawn out. That's probably the difference. I don't know. Like that's the thing. Like really, there's hardly a difference here, and you can just use either. But I feel like there is a bit of a nuance here. But let me type it out first. You guys need a visual aid. I'm sorry to be bothering you so much. You could actually use this interchangeably with I'm sorry to bother you so much. You could say I'm sorry to be bothering you so much, or I'm sorry to bother you so much. But people would more commonly just use the simple form. And the same goes for the second sentence. I'm sorry to have been bothering you so much. I'm sorry to have bothered you so much. Actually, regarding the second sentence, I feel like I can actually explain the difference there, because I'm sorry to have been bothering you so much could imply that you're still doing it. It could imply that you're still doing it. Like you started doing it in the past and you're still doing it now. So I think that's the difference there. So you could say, I'm sorry to have bothered you, and I'm sorry to have been bothering you. But the second one implies that you're still bothering that person. But like you started the bothering in the past. So it's really similar to the present perfect progressive, but instead you just have an infinitive form. And I think I can explain the first one as well. So I'm sorry to be bothering you so much. That I think that implies that I think that one implies that you're bothering someone at the moment. Whereas the first one, I'm sorry to bother you so much, it could mean that you're bothering someone at the moment, or it could mean that you bother somebody all the time. So it could mean either. So the progressive forms here just place an emphasis on what's happening now, if that makes sense. So that's the difference between all these forms. So it's really not much different from the other forms. And you can just say, I'm sorry I've been bothering you so much as well. You don't have to use the infinitive construction. You don't have to. You don't have to use the infinitive constructions. It really doesn't matter. You can say, I'm sorry I've been bothering you so much lately, or you could say, I'm sorry to have been bothering you so much lately. You can say either. It doesn't matter. But just know that the infinitive constructions, like the perfect continuous infinitive, those aren't really used as much as just the simple infinitive. So the infinitive constructions aren't really used all that much in spoken English or in written English. They happen, but not very much. So more commonly, you would just have a different clause, like for example, I'm sorry I've been bothering you so much lately. You would just more commonly say that instead of I'm sorry to have been bothering you so much lately. So the first one is more common. So it's more common not to use infinitives, but you can use infinitives if you want. It's fine. Yeah, the infinitives do have a bit of formality to them, don't they? I feel like that's probably another way to describe them. Like they sound a bit more formal than the other forms. They're not necessarily more formal, but they can come off that way. So yeah. These are moods, right? No, the infinitive isn't a mood. it's not a mood or a tense or an aspect or anything like that. It's not really any of that. It's just some form that's used to express the the unconjugated form, the simplest unconjugated form of a verb. Sorry, fam, didn't mean to be bothering you. Yeah, exactly. You could say to be bothering as well, or you could even just say to bother. But but in that case, those would mean slightly different things. Because again, the to be bothering implies that you're still bothering somebody. Whereas the to bother, it could mean that. Actually, no, in that case, it wouldn't mean that at all. I didn't mean to bother you would imply that you're not bothering them anymore. So in that case, there is a difference. Never mind. Never mind. So that's one special case where they are different. How could you say it if you're going to do it in the future? I guess you could say, um, um, we're going to be working together on this project. Although you could just say, well, actually, yeah, this is one case where you could say, I think this is one example of what you're saying, Alien 60. We're going to be working together on this project. We're going to work together on this project works as well. Although I don't quite know how to explain it, but for whatever reason, I think the continuous form works a bit better here. Because I feel like just using the simple infinitive has a slightly different meaning. I don't know. Like, that's the thing. Like, these things are sometimes hard to explain. It's just more of a thing you have to get a feel for. Like, there are some nuances that are really hard to describe in words. But yeah, you could say. But yeah, it's very context dependent. Very, very context dependent. Just pay attention to how the infinitive forms are used, and you'll get the hang of them. But yeah, let me type this out. The progressive forms of the infinitive imply that the event is still happening. That's what differentiates them from the simple and perfect forms. So just keep that in mind. Or that the event will be happening in regarding the example I had earlier. We're going to be working together on this project. But anyway, I think that's. Oh, so we've covered infinitives. Oh, and I forgot, there are also bare infinitives for all the different types of infinitives. So you could have. So let's see. Hold on. I almost forgot to mention that. So you could say yeah, the progressive is the same as the continuous, yes. At least in English, because there are some languages where those two are different concepts, but in English they are the same concept. So you can use either term. You could say simple, you could say past progressive or past continuous. It does not matter. Okay. So person B. Okay. So here we have some. I was just typing up an example. That's all. Okay. So again, there are bare forms of these. There are of all these infinitives. So you can have work, be working, have worked, and have been working. And you'll also notice that these look very much like the subjunctive forms. Like they're the exact same forms as the subjunctive. But unlike with the subjunctive forms, with these forms you can put auxiliary verbs at the beginning. So, oops, let me fix this. Yeah, exactly. Bare infinitive means an infinitive without the to. So you could have a bare simple infinitive, a bare continuous infinitive, a bare perfect infinitive, and a bare perfect continuous infinitive. So what is with the formatting here? What's going on? Hold on. There. Okay. Oh, I see what happened. It was because I see what happened. Okay, I can fix this now. Okay, there. That should do it. Okay. So yeah, here's an example where we use the continuous infinitive, the bare continuous infinitive, without the word to. So not to be working, we're using be working. So here's an example where we use that. Person A says, "Why isn't my mom picking up her phone?" And person B says, "She may be working on a project for work." So may is the auxiliary verb, and be working is the bare continuous infinitive. And I could provide examples for the other forms, but you get the point. I don't need to go any further. Yeah, an infinitive is just a form that's just the simplest form of a verb, the non-conjugated form. So it's not marked for tense or aspect. At least not necessarily. Well, aspect sort of, but I'm talking about like the simple infinitive. So regarding the simple infinitive, there's no marker for aspect or tense or mood or person or any of that. None of that. So it's just a verb. It's just a verb in its simplest form. So to work, to eat, to swim, to run, to dance, to sing. You get the idea. And how infinitives are expressed in other languages, well, that just depends on the language. Like, for example, in Spanish, you have special endings for infinitives, like caminar, to walk, nadar, to swim, tener, to have, ir, to go. You get the idea. It's the same thing. But in Spanish, you don't have a separate word in front of a verb. You just have the endings. You have one word, and it has a special ending. You're just flexing at this point. I'm trying not to flex. I'm sorry. I'm trying not to flex. I keep flexing. I'm sorry. See, that's me. That's exactly what my body looks like. All bones, no muscle. Just paint that kid brown and you'll have me. Like dark brown. Well, not too dark. No. Just the right shade of brown. And I would be a lot taller, but you get the idea. And I would not be wearing glasses. Which is funny because like both my parents are nearsighted and I'm not. And neither is my brother nor my sister. Like our vision's fine, but theirs is just all messed up. Not to a huge degree, but yeah. Anyway. Paint the kid brown, right? But, yeah. That's how infinitives work. So you guys get the idea. Okay, so we have only one more thing to cover. And what would that be? Well, how the freak should I know? Okay, so we need to cover voice. Voice. So active voice and passive voice. There are two voices in English, active voice and passive voice. Two voices, active voice and passive voice. But what is active voice and what is passive voice? English only has two voices. There are at least 5 in my head, so I'm better. Yeah, sure, let's go with that. Sure. Okay. Right? Schizomaxing. It's like the voices in my head won't stop. Then take your earphones out. Oh, thanks. No, I'm kidding. That's stupid. No, but anyway. But yeah, there are two voices in English: active voice and passive voice. So what does that? What the heck do these two terms mean? Well, regarding aliens example here. Yeah, I eat nails every day. That's active voice. Every day nails get eaten by me. That's passive voice. So in active voice, the subject is the one like doing the action. The subject is the agent of the sentence. That's what you'd call it. The agent, one who is acting, the one who does the action, the agent. And everyday nails get eaten by me. That's passive voice. That's passive voice. So the subject is not the one doing the action. The subject is not the agent. So here, let me hold on one moment. Okay. So in active voice, the subject performs the action. Oops. In passive voice, let's see. I'm trying to see. I feel like I could come up with a better. I feel like I could come in. Okay, yeah. So in passive voice, the subject receives the action. That's a better way of putting it. So in active voice, the subject performs the action. In passive voice, the subject receives the action or has an action done to it, or him or her. It depends. So, for example, okay, so here's an example. Okay, so here's an example of active voice and an example of passive voice. In active voice, the subject performs the action. So, for example, I delivered the newspapers. That's active voice because I myself, the subject, I performed the action of delivering the newspapers. In passive voice, the subject receives the action. The newspapers were delivered by me. The newspapers is the subject of the sentence. But the newspapers didn't do the delivering. No, that was somebody else, me. So the newspapers were receiving the action of being delivered. They had the action of delivering done to them. The newspapers were delivered by me. So here, passive voice basically changes the subject of the sentence and makes it so that the new subject receives the action instead of doing the action. Now you're wondering, okay, so when would we use one and when would we use the other? Okay, so normally you should not use passive voice because overusing it will make your sentences sound very weak and unconfident. Passive voice is used when you want to, when A, the agent of the sentence is unknown, or B, you want to soften the statement. So instead of saying, so for example, regarding softening a statement, so instead of saying, I lost the keys, you could say, the keys got lost, or the keys were lost. So you could go from active to passive. So in this case, passive voice, de-emphasizes whoever is to blame for the action. The keys got lost. And here you actually don't have to specify that it was you who lost the keys, or that the keys got lost by you. You could say the keys got lost by me, but that would just, that would just sound weird. Just take out the by me part and it would be fine. Just take out the by me part. And of course, as I said, you can use passive voice when the agent is unknown. So for example, yeah, exactly, when you can't specify the agent. So for example, the package was delivered. We don't know exactly who delivered it. So, I mean, we could say it was delivered by a certain company, but more often than not, we don't need to specify the company. Like if we can't specify the agent, or if the agent is not important, then we could just cut it out and use passive voice instead. The package was delivered. We don't need to know who delivered it, or we may not know who delivered it. Hopefully you do know who delivered it, because if you didn't, that would be bad. But you get the idea. So if you don't know who did the action, or if whoever did the action is not important, then it's perfectly fine to use passive voice. Yeah, exactly. The keys were misplaced. Now say it in Spanish, will you? Okay, I actually can. So let's see. What were the sentences again? Oh, actually no, crap. I don't know how to. Actually, I don't know how to say. I don't know what the verb to deliver is in Spanish. Crap. I'm kind of rusty. Crap. Dang. I mean, I could say like. I know how to. I could regarding losing keys. I mean, I could do that example in English. I could do that in Spanish. I could say that in Spanish, but I'm not gonna bother. Actually, no, screw it. Let's do it. Actually, no. Let me do a different example that I could definitely write in Spanish. So you could say something like, so showing how this works in Spanish, and I'm not going to talk about the whole construction with the pronoun se. No, I wouldn't really call that passive voice. That's not a good way of thinking about it, because it's a lot more than passive voice. The pronoun se has a number of meanings that go beyond passive voice. So we're not going to use that. Instead, I'm just going to do a more literal translation. So instead, let's do this. Because in Spanish, you could actually just use passive voice the exact same way as in English. So you could say this, which in Spanish would be, hold on, I don't know how to put accent marks on my keyboard, so one moment. FML hashtag first world problems. Okay, let's see. There we go. I'm just going to copy this from a machine translator. I don't know why I wrote that. Yeah, perhaps I kind of have to. I think Mima has a point actually. I don't want the class's chat to be filled with a bunch of messages that are excessive or that aren't related. I don't mind if you guys. I don't mind if there are some messages here and there that are off topic or whatever, but let's not overdo it. because that can actually get in the way of me teaching the class more effectively, because some people have, like, if you type too many messages, then people will have to scroll up to see what messages I type, and I've even had to do that a few times so far in this lesson, so, which doesn't help when people are watching the recording. So let's just try to tone that down a bit. Okay. Okay, anyway. Like, I'm not saying you can't just go off, like, you can be off topic sometimes. Even I'm off topic all the like, pretty much a lot, almost all the time. Well, not all the time, but a lot of the time. But, like, let's just try not to overdo it, because at the end of the day, like, we don't want to get in the way of other people trying to learn the lesson. But anyway, let me show you how this works in Spanish, but this is just quick. This will be quick. Yeah, I can pin. I'll pin whatever I typed. I'll pin those, like, later. Whatever I typed. I'll just pin those messages later. Okay, so to show how this works in Spanish, and the only reason I even bring up Spanish is because I want to help Spanish speakers, like, find connections to, like, make connections with learning English so that they could understand English better. So in English you would say, I wrote the book. In Spanish, escribí el libro. But if you want to turn into passive voice, in English you would say, the book was written by me. And in Spanish you would say, el libro fue escrito por mí. So it works the exact same way here. Although, again, like in Spanish, there are other ways to express passive voice constructions, but this is just one of them. But if you want a more literal translation, this is how you would do it. So that's the difference between the two languages. And somebody already provided an example in French, so I don't need to go over that. And I can't even read French anyway, so oof. Like, I can't read French. Sorry, I don't understand the pronunciation just yet. But let's see. Okay, so, and you'll notice that to form passive voice, I should probably explain that. So to form passive voice, read it like Spanish but be more annoying. El libro fue escrito por mí. El libro fue escrito por mí. Okay, now that I'm done reading it like a gringo, let's there you go. Escribí el libro. No, I'm kidding. And they're like, stop! No joke, there are some people who actually do not bother to modify their accent when speaking Spanish, or any language in general, and I'm just like, why? Like, I'm not saying that you can't have an accent, but there are some people who literally do not even try. They don't even try, and I'm just like, why? Why? God, why? But anyway, what was I saying? So, to form the passive voice, you need to have, and this works in both English and Spanish, you need to have, you need to use a form of the verb to be. So like am, was, had been, whatever, and then use the past participle. You guys remember the past participle? The verb 3 form? So, let's say, yeah, it does seem disingenuous, exactly. Like, try a bit harder with the pronunciation, please. But anyway, that's how you would form the passive voice. So if we want to use the verb was, well, hang on, hold on. The assignment was completed. Okay, so here, let me break the sentence down. Let me do it this way. Oh, no, that's not what I... Damn! Okay, hold on. Okay, there. The assignment was completed. So we have a form of the verb to be. That's was. Form of the verb to be. And then we have the past participle. The verb 3 form. Which would be completed. I'm glad Nine Chat is here because, like, I don't know enough German or French to provide examples. And it doesn't help that in German, like, and in French, literally in English, French, Spanish, and German, they all have what I would call, they all have the present perfect and past simple, but they all use them differently. And it's just so irritating. It's so damn irritating. It's because, like, I don't know, it's just so annoying. So, like, that's something you have to keep in mind when translating, and that's part of the reason why I don't feel comfortable translating some of these examples in German and French, other than the fact that I don't really know a lot of German and French to begin with. But anyway, and since we're talking about the verbs, the forms of the verb to be here, that's definitely something I need to master before even trying to come up with any of these examples. But you get the idea. So was in my sentence here is a form of the verb to be, and the past participle is completed. The assignment was completed. It's okay. I can just here, let me just copy this and then paste it here. I can just move it. Don't worry, guys. I can just move it. Don't worry. I normally do try to type fast enough not to have these separated. But yeah. But yeah, it's okay. And of course I could have typed that whole thing in one go, but sometimes I just don't like having long comments like that. Sometimes I just find it easier to separate it. Not like you know, to have like two different comments but like connected together, if that makes sense. Like having them physically touch instead of just having one big comment. But in any case, yeah, exactly. It's just exhausting to type everything in just one comment. Oh, I forgot about Portuguese. But I don't know how to do it in Portuguese either, so sorry. And by do it, I mean, like, you know, translate examples. But if someone can provide Portuguese examples, great. Just great. But I know very little about Portuguese, other than the fact that it has a very similar tense system to Spanish. So it's like, but like I don't know how to conjugate the verbs themselves, so I still wouldn't be able to help. Anyway, just try to spell Português. Português. Please, just throw it into Google Translate, said someone. Or just a translator in general. As long as it's not Google Translate, I'm fine with that. No, verb 3. Verb 3. It's verb 3. I mean, you just spelled Portuguese for me, so there's no point in me spelling it right now. Oh, you mean like, well, I mean, still, you probably mean like for me to spell it out loud, but still, like, you just typed it, so I don't know. Well, I guess I could, like, Portuguese, Portuguese. Okay, so here's another example where you would use, where you could form passive voice with the form of the verb to be and the past participle or verb 3 form. Although this is a bit of a silly example because I mean it's pretty obvious. You don't need to you don't really need to state this because it goes without saying, but the assignments are graded by the teachers. So are is a form of the verb to be, right? And graded is the verb 3 form. The assignments are graded by the teachers. The assignments are graded by the teachers. So again, that's how you form passive voice. You need a form of the verb to be conjugated, and then you need the the verb 3 form, the past participle. So remember, past participles are like known, run, swum, written, flown. Those are all verb 3 forms. And of course that goes for regular verbs as well. So you could have exhausted, worked, filled, etc. These are all verb 3 forms, and they have both. Verb 3 forms could be regular or irregular. That's what I mean to say. So those are all examples of verb 3 forms. Oh, that's how you do it in Latin? Oh, okay. Oh, I should probably mention, yeah, in Latin, like Latin actually has a morphology for the passive voice. So, in other words, it doesn't need like. I mean, it can use a form of the verb to be, but it actually has separate conjugations for the passive voice. So that's something to keep in mind. And you refer to the past participle as verb 3. Yeah, verb 3, the third verb form, whatever it's called. That's the past participle. Because remember, there are 3 forms. So you have, like, for example, run, ran, run, swim, swam, swum. Bring, brought, brought. So it goes like this: verb 1, verb 2, verb 3. Yeah, and there are also cases where they're all the same, like sit, 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 put, 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 hit, 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 set, set, set. It's stupid, but I mean it's a Germanic language thing. Germanic languages are full of verbs like that. They're called strong verbs because they aren't regular. They are very irregular, and they can either stay the same or undergo vowel changes. So they could stay the same, such as hit, 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 or they can undergo vowel changes, such as swim, swam, swum. So yeah, it's stupid, but that's just how the language works. And German has plenty of strong verbs as well. So, and pretty much every Germanic language does. That's the thing. It's not like Romance languages where verb forms tend to be more regular, a lot more regular. But anyway, I think we've covered just about everything. Oh, and another thing regarding. Actually, let me drink some water first. I am parched. I need to hydrate. Yes, hydrate. Sat it. Right? Run. I runs, mommy. Fam. It's ran. Learn to grammar. No, I'm kidding. But anyway. He's H2O'ing. I'm H2 knowing. No, that sounds really stupid. That doesn't even make any sense. Anyway. What was I going to say? Oh yeah. So going back to active and passive voice. Okay. So, as I said, you should normally avoid. Normally you should just use active voice. Active voice just sounds more concise. It's more direct, more to the point, and it makes your sentences sound stronger. But as I said, there are times where you can use passive voice, and there are times where you should use passive voice. So just know that most of the time you will be using active voice, especially in technical letters. In technical writing, in technical writing in general, it is frowned upon to use passive voice. Like, they just don't. Nobody wants you using passive voice in technical writing. Just don't do it. Whenever possible, don't do it. Because in technical writing, you have to be direct. You have to be to the point. You have to be concise. So, and now in academic writing, you don't have to worry too much about that. Though you should still use active voice as much as possible. But in technical writing, try to use active voice as much as you can. And in general, you should use active voice as much as you can. But again, there are times where it's perfectly fine to use passive voice. Oh, you have to leave, Mima? Well, it's okay. Class is just about to end anyway. But yeah. Technical writing? Oh, it's like, it's when you write business letters. Like that. It's stuff like that. Business letters, stuff like that. Business reports, even. It's stuff like that. Good night, Mima. Mima, 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 Mima. I love saying her name. Mima, 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 Mima. But yeah, good night, Mima. When is my next lesson or class? Wednesday. I'll have one last class on Wednesday. About feelings. About expressing your feelings and crap like that. Yes, I've waited for you to say it. I'm off for real. Okay, bye. I feel like God. Hey, that's good. If it gets you through the day, that's great. More power to you. German arguably still has more strong verbs as English verbs get regularized. That's actually a good point. Because, see, in English is perhaps, I'd say it's like the least, it's probably the least Germanized language nowadays, because it's so radically different from Old English. Whereas German, it's somewhat different from Old German, but not to the extent that English is different from Old English. And Icelandic, it's like, the contrast is even bigger, because in Icelandic looks almost it looks barely any different from Old Norse. So that's the thing. So that's why English has more regular verbs than, say, German or Icelandic, because English has just had a lot of influence compared to those two, whereas German and Icelandic haven't changed as much. And of course they're going to have more strong verbs. Like, German has a crap ton of strong verbs, actually. A crap ton. And a crap ton of irregular nouns as well. Like, nouns that decline, like, that are changed to special plural forms. Like, German has a lot of those. Whereas in English, you usually just put an S or an ES at the end of the noun. Although we have special forms as well, obviously. But not as many as German. Like in German, you have like das Buch, die Bücher, der Stuhl, die Stühle, der Raum, die Räume, and it's like, how do they keep track of all those forms? There's so many forms. And if you're wondering what I said book, stool, and room, but whatever. Can there be another voice other than passive and active? I think there's something called mediopassive. Hold on, let me look it up. Yeah, there's something called mediopassive apparently, but I don't know how that works. because I don't think English has a true medial passive. But we have something that's similar, I guess. Oh, Spanish actually does have one, but you use it with the reflexive pronoun. But anyway, I don't know how it works with other languages. Wait, let me look up grammatical voice. Hold on. So in grammar, the voice of a verb describes the relationship between the action or state that the verb expresses and the participants identified by its arguments, subject, object, etc. When the subject is the agent or doer of the action, the verb is in the active voice. When the subject is the patient, target, or undergoer of the action, the verb is said to be in the passive voice. And when the subject both performs and receives the action expressed by the verb is in the middle voice. Oh, so that's what middle voice is. Okay, so English, I guess English technically does have a middle voice. Like, I guess I wash myself would be like the middle voice, I guess. I mean that's what middle voice would be according to this logic. I don't know. I don't know. English is just pretty nebulous when it comes to grammatical terms because, again, we have very, very little inflection on anything. We barely conjugate, and we barely decline. The only things we decline are pronouns. So it's honestly, which is why there's so much debate when it comes to English grammar. Some people argue that English has only 2 tenses, and they're not wrong, but that's only in terms of morphology, because we don't mark the future tense with a suffix like Spanish does. We use a special verb form, a special separate verb like will. But whatever, it doesn't matter. However you classify them, like English pretty much has, I would say English still has these concepts, just expresses them differently. But yeah, regarding voice, English does seem to have active voice, passive voice, and middle voice, I guess. But let me look up middle voice because hopefully there's, okay, here we go. And there's a bit more to middle voice as well, but I'm not going to get into that. That's just going to make this It's just going to make this more complicated. But yeah, an example of middle voice would be where both the subject and the object, like where the what was that? How did you define middle voice again? How did they do that? Oh yeah, when the subject both performs and receives the action expressed by the verb. That's middle voice. So middle voice would be something like Fred shaved himself. This is middle voice because Fred is both the subject. Fred is both receiving and doing the action. He's doing the shaving and he's receiving the shaving. So that's middle voice. So middle voice is like basically a mix of active voice and passive voice, if that makes sense. So English has a middle voice as well. We don't have special verb forms for it like other languages do, but we do have middle voice. We can express it anyway. But yeah, this is something that you're not really likely to. Yeah, we don't really do this very much. Like middle voice is just not something you're going to be doing very much. Because I can't think of, like, there aren't going to be very many contexts where you are both the subject, where you both do the action and receive the action. That's what I mean. I bathed. That would technically be middle voice as well. You could also say I bathed myself, but the myself is pretty much implied, so you can just take it out. But yeah, that's another example of middle voice. So yeah, English has middle voice as well. But medial passive, I have no idea what that is. Apparently it's both middle and passive. But what the hell is that? I don't know what the medial passive is. The book reads well. That's an example, but again, I don't understand what this is. I don't even know what this is. I'm guessing. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to describe that one. I don't understand it. But I know that English has active voice, middle voice, and passive voice. So English actually has 3 voices. And medial passive technically is a thing too, but I'm not going to include it because I don't know how to. I don't understand it at all. I it's like Wikipedia says it's something that has both passive and middle voice, but I'm just like, what? Anyway, but I do know that English definitely has middle voice as well. So English is kind of clunky. It's just it's not so much clunky. It's just that English is very. See, it's not like, say, Latin, where there's inflection everywhere for nouns, for verbs, for adjectives, all that stuff. Wait, Latin has adjectives are declined in Latin, right? I think they are. I don't remember. They are? Okay, yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, so in Latin everything is declined. Nouns, verbs, I'm sorry, everything is inflected because verbs don't decline, they conjugate. But everything in Latin is inflected. So nouns, verbs, adjectives, whatever. Pronouns, like whatever. Whereas in English, there's very little inflection. Very little. Which is what makes English hard for some people, because you would think that having little inflection would make a language easier to learn, but no, it doesn't. Because English grammar is often invisible. It's invisible. Because you don't have declensions or conjugations to tell you who's doing what in the sentence, unlike, say, German or Latin. So like you could have a sentence like this. Buffalo, 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 buffalo. That's a valid sentence. But, see, English is so syntactically ambiguous sometimes that see, like, that's the thing. Like, this is technically valid. If you break it down, you'll see that it actually works. So, but again, you don't have declensions or conjugations to tell you who's doing what in the sentence. So, if you're not used to a system where you have to rely on word order to tell what's going on, this is the result. To its extreme, obviously. English is not this complicated, but this is just an extreme example. So let me break this down. Buffalo, buffalo. So, Buffalo from the city of Buffalo. That's Buffalo from the city of Buffalo. Buffalo as in bully. So, Buffalo in this case is being used as... It has 3 meanings here. The city of Buffalo, the animal buffalo, and the verb buffalo, which means to bully. So let me rewrite this sentence so that you guys can understand it. What do you mean by you're asking me about inflections? Inflections. So when you inflect something, you change the form of a verb or a noun or whatever. You change the form of a word in general to express a different meaning. So for example, like if you want to express the past tense the verb walk, like he walks. You would have to change the s ending to an ed to express the past tense. He walks, he walked. So the verb walked is inflected for tense. So that's what inflection is. And for nouns, if you want to make something, like for example in English, to inflect nouns for number, you'd have to add s or es at the end. So boxes or pens or whatever. Although there are some nouns that, again, have special forms, so be careful about that. But you get the idea. But anyway. Okay, so let me put this here and here, and we're about to end class, guys, don't worry. I'm just providing an example here to show the problems of learning English. Okay. So I'm using different marks, like, I know, I'm using very different marks. Actually, let me just take these marks out. They look stupid. Okay, so let's break the sentence up. Buffalo, buffalo, that, buffalo, 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 buffalo. So buffalo from the city of Buffalo, that buffalo from the city of Buffalo, bully, bully other buffalo from the city of Buffalo. So get it? So buffalo has three meanings. So to bully, so it's being used as a verb, and it's being used as a proper noun, and it's being used as a common noun. And then you have this. So hopefully that makes more sense. So buffalo has like three different meanings here. And of course you capitalize proper nouns, so like this, like a city or whatever. So here it has three different meanings. It can mean to bully, it could refer to an animal, so that'd be a common noun, and it could refer to the city. So that would be a proper noun. So hopefully that sentence makes more sense. If it doesn't, there are other explanations online. And again, a similar sentence is with police. So police, 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 police. See? It's simple. No, not really. Okay, now that your brains are done exploding, it's not colloquial. That's actually how the word is used, but most people would just say bully. It's not common to use buffalo to mean bully. But yeah, you could have a sentence like this. Police, 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 police. And it's the same logic. So you can police someone, so it could be a verb, as in I guess what exactly? Let me look at the exact definition of police as a verb, so that I do not want to get it wrong, because I feel like it could. Hold on. I feel like I might get this wrong. Let's see. Yeah, to control, regulate, or keep in order by use of police. Okay, yeah. So basically, to control or regulate something. So police is being used as a verb there. And of course you have police, the common noun referring to police officers, and there's actually a city named Police. I can't remember what country, but whatever, or what state. But yeah. So again, same logic there. Yeah, if you know Latin, you could actually understand quite a number of languages, notably the Romance languages, and to a lesser extent, and also for English, but to a lesser extent German as well. But anyway, but yeah, I believe that is, but yeah, that's one pitfall of English, because again, sometimes in English you'll have to reread a sentence or rehear a sentence because you misinterpreted what the part of speech of a word was. Maybe you thought it was a noun, but it was actually a verb, and you're like, wait, no, that doesn't make sense. Let me go back and rehear it, or reread it, or whatever. Because there are times where I'm like reading an English sentence. This rarely happens, but there are times where I'm reading an English sentence or hearing an English sentence, and then I misinterpret it because I misunderstood one word as a different part of speech than what it actually was. Like I thought it was a noun, but it was actually a verb. So I had to go back and listen to it again, or play it in my head again, and then it would make sense. And that's the annoying thing about English. Sometimes there will be times where you'll have to reread a sentence because due to the lack of inflection, it's not clear what's a noun and what's a verb. But yeah, but yeah, you just deal with it, and like most of the time, you'll just get a feel for what's actually what the sentence actually means. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. English makes you interpret a lot compared to Latin, where you don't have to do any of that guesswork. You don't have to. Like, Latin is pretty upfront about its grammar, so English not so much. Okay, it's important to know present progressive, present perfect, and future perfect. The future perfect isn't used very commonly in English. Not that we don't use it, we do. It's just that most of the time, we don't need to use it. Because most of the time, there's no need to use it. But people do use it. So, do you need to know it? Yes, but it's not exactly important. For the most part, you can just skip using it. But there will be contexts where you should use it. So, it's important to know how to use it, but you don't really need to, like, you're not really going to be using it very much. It's really the present and the past present and past tense forms of verbs that you're going to be using more often. Yeah, Latin is present in like science in general. Like, it's just everywhere. And if you know Latin, then you can understand why some words have different plural suffixes and why others don't. Because if you know just English, you're not going to know why. Like, why does this verb have this ending, but noun. Why does this noun have this ending, but this one doesn't? Well, if you knew Latin, then you wouldn't have to worry about that, because there would be explanations for that. But anyway. But I tried to learn Latin once, but I was like, nah, I'm not into this. So I didn't bother. What are the most important grammar rules? It's going to be hard to answer that question. Honestly, I don't know how to answer that question because there are many. I don't think there's a most important grammar rule. Oh, you mean like oh, you use the plural here, rules. Well, even then, I still don't. I don't know. Like, there are so many important ones. It's hard to. It'll be hard to pinpoint exactly like which ones are the most important. And yeah, I should drink more water. I'll be right back. The most common rules, well, ones that aren't wrong, I guess that would be oh, I think I might have disconnected for a moment. I hope I didn't. Yeah, I did. And I disconnected for some reason. I don't know why Discord just randomly disconnects me. I don't know why it does that. The most common rules, it's hard. It's going to be hard for me to come up with examples off the top of my head because there are many. I guess one would be don't double conjugate your verbs. So like don't say he didn't walk to the store. It should be he didn't walk to the store. But a lot of people mess that up because past tense conjugation works differently in their language. Like, for example, Spanish speakers do this a lot. They will say things like, he didn't walk to the store. He didn't walk to the store. It should be he didn't walk to the store. That's one common grammar rule that non-natives struggle with. Not all of them, but some of them. And of course, there's also the oh, I meant to put an article there. My bad. Yeah, you conjugate only once. You don't need to do it like the first verb in the verb phrase is the only one that gets conjugated. And it technically works the same way in Spanish, but I guess the issue here is that in Spanish you don't really use an auxiliary verb to express the past tense. You just change the verb itself and place no in front of it or whatever negative verb you have if you want to negate the past tense. But Spanish speakers, like, they have a hard time understanding how. At first, they have a hard time understanding how past tense, how the past tense is formed in English, because in Spanish again it's different. But anyway, that's just one example of a common rule in English. Hebrew speakers do that too. Okay, I honestly, I don't know any Hebrew, so I honestly had no idea. But yeah, I'm sure Spanish speakers aren't the only ones doing this, but they are. But like they are some of the ones that do it. I'm trying to think of other common rules. I can't think of any. Because, like, how is it that I can't think of any? Oh, right. There's also the whole thing with reported speech where if you have a reporting verb such as say or tell in the present, then the verb in the subordinate clause has to match in tense. So, for example, I like ice cream. She says she likes ice cream. So, or if you want to change to the past tense, she said she liked ice cream. Okay. Yiddish. I know almost nothing about that language. I know it's Germanic, but I know nothing about it. But yeah, there are plenty of grammatical rules in English. You just take your time to just take it one rule at a time. I can't speak today. Take it one rule at a time. But yeah, this is an example of reported speech. I like ice cream. She says she likes ice cream. She said she liked ice cream. So says and said are the reporting verbs. We call them reporting verbs because they tell someone else something, like they report information. And the verb in the subordinate clause has to match in tense. She says she likes ice cream, both present tense. She said she liked ice cream, both past tense. And it works like this in other languages too, like French, Portuguese, Spanish, whatever, Norwegian as well. But I've already covered that in a previous lesson, so. Yeah, it works the same way in Spanish, exactly. So in Spanish, it would be like, yeah, it's the same. So in Spanish, it would be like, ella dijo que le gustaba el helado. She said that she liked ice cream. So gustaba, me gustaba, she liked. Sorry, le gustaba. I said me, I meant le. Le gustaba. She liked. So that would be, so we would use the imperfective form there. So really in Spanish it's called backshifting. This is called backshifting. So when you backshift a verb, you change it from the present tense to the past tense in order to make the tense agree with another verb in tense. I should probably stress for people watching this recording that the class is technically over at this point. I'm just answering questions, general questions on grammar. But yeah, regarding English, yeah, English and Spanish have a number of similarities. Like they're very similar when it comes to tenses. So regarding the reported speech, it works the same way. It's the same thing. And regarding conditionals, for example, like first, second, third conditionals, mixed conditionals, zero conditionals, same thing. So, yeah. If you're a Spanish speaker, English tenses are not going to be very hard for you. Like, our system is basically an easier version of yours because we don't have an imperfective aspect that we mark with an ending. So if you're a Spanish speaker, you already have an advantage over a lot of other non-native speakers when it comes to English tenses. But some English tenses are used a bit differently, so be careful about that. Anyway, does the past perfect sound to you unnatural or maybe ostentatious when it's misused by non-natives? Yes, and that's something that a lot of people mess up as well, as you just pointed out. Like, the past perfect doesn't really, and I'm talking about the indicative form. The past perfect doesn't make any sense when you use it out of context. So if you just use it in isolation, it will not sound good at all. So you can't just say, I had gone to the store. You can't say that. You can't. Like, because, again, you need more context. People will be wondering, okay, you had gone to the store when... Like, that's just so incomplete. Like, grammatically it's complete, but semantically it's not. Because people will be expecting more context. Like, if you say something like that, people will be expecting more context. So you'd have to add something to it. I had gone to the store by the time my wife came back. Or if the context is already implied if it's already implied, then you can actually leave out that extra part and just have the past perfect by itself. So you can have the past perfect by itself, but the context would need to be implied for it to work. But if there's no implied context, then you need to actually make the context explicit, if that makes sense. So be really careful with how you use the past perfect. And misusing it can also mess up the timeline of events as well. Because again, there are times where you can use either the past perfect or the past simple, but there would be a difference in meaning. So, and another thing to point out is that the past simple is better suited for describing sequences of events. So, for example, I did this, I did that, I later did this, afterwards I did that, so on and so forth. The past perfect doesn't really work like that. So you can't just say, like, I had done this, then I had done that, then I had gone and done this. No, don't do that. Just don't do that. That sounds really bad. No, that's just really bad. So, again, be careful with how you use the past perfect. Like, misusing it like that it's a giveaway that you're not a native, because native speakers would not talk like that. That's not to say that native speakers are perfect with their use of the past perfect. They're not. They mess it up too, but rarely. Normally, we do use it correctly. Or at least when we misuse it, it doesn't sound bad, if that makes sense. Usually. Because there are times where people just use it when they don't need to, but it doesn't necessarily sound bad, if that makes sense. Like, they'll say things like, see, I had wanted this, or whatever, and it's just like, you can just say wanted. Just say wanted. But in that case, the past perfect wouldn't sound too bad there. It would just sound a little weird, but not too bad. So, but yeah, just be careful with how you use the past perfect. And what I noticed is that some dialects of English, like British English, they tend to use the past perfect a lot more liberally than Americans do. Like, that's just what I've noticed, because American English, they use it, we would not use the past perfect that much, but in British English, they use it a lot. Not, like, to a huge degree, but noticeably more so. Like, they'll say things like, we had done so many things together, and it technically wouldn't be wrong, I guess, but it would just sound weird for them, because that's the thing, they use it almost like a second past tense, and it's just weird, but it's not necessarily wrong. That's just what I've noticed. But regardless of whatever dialect you learn, like, people will notice if you misuse the past perfect. So, be careful with that. Oh, and yeah, by that law... Oh, another thing I should point out is that Americans do tend to underutilize the past perfect. So, yeah, it's like the opposite with American English. Like, I think British English speakers overuse it, and American English speakers underuse it. That's just what I've noticed. It's just a trend. Like, that's just what I've noticed, because there are times in American English where people don't use the past perfect when they should, and there are times in British English where people use the past perfect when they shouldn't, or when they really don't need to. Why? I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. It's weird. That's the thing about dialect. Like, tense usage can vary when it comes to dialect. And I noticed this in Spanish as well, where, like, the present perfect, or compound past, technically in Spanish, that's used a lot more in European Spanish than in Latin American Spanish. Like, even for remote events. Like, remote events in the past. So they can say things like, oh, I have gone to the store yesterday. And I'm just like, nah, I can't do that. Nah, sorry. Nah, that's not valid in English. But in European Spanish, yes. In Latin American Spanish, people wouldn't say that, though. They would just say, I went to the store yesterday, and thank God. Because I'm learning Latin American Spanish, and it makes more sense to me to say it that way. Like, using the present perfect for remote past events, just, it doesn't sound right to me. It doesn't. I don't know. Is it because Americans are more direct? I don't know, honestly, because I'm not sure if... Are we more direct? I don't know, honestly. I mean, I'd say we're fairly direct, but I don't know how direct we are compared to Brits. I honestly don't know. You definitely are a lot more direct. Although, to be honest, like, if you think we're direct, we're not as direct as Germans. Germans are even more direct than we are. They are more direct than we are. If you think we're direct, nah. There are other countries that are even more direct than we are. But there are countries that are less direct than we are as well, like Japan. Japan is a lot less direct than the US. A lot less direct. And the same could be said for Korea and Mexico, but Japan in particular is very indirect. But I don't know. Oh, from your own experience, you find the Germans are less direct. I guess it might be a stereotype then. I don't know, like because I've heard Germans themselves describe themselves as direct. I mean, I've like so I don't know. I guess some of them are, some of them aren't. Of course, not all of them are, but I don't know. Some of them do say that they're pretty direct. So I don't know. I don't know. I guess it just depends on your experience. Although, regardless of how direct you are, there are going to be some things that will be considered universally rude in all cultures. But yeah, just keep in mind how direct you should be. What will work in the U.S. will not necessarily work in Japan or Germany or Britain or wherever. Now, let's be honest. I don't really think we Americans are even that direct. I honestly don't think we are. I'd say we're fairly direct, but not super direct. Because there are times where instead of just saying no, we'd say things like, I would, but I'm kind of busy with something. But we don't do it as much as, say, Japan. They do that a lot more. Like if we don't want to go to a party, we would just say, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I would just say that. And I'm not really all that direct myself, but even I would say that. Like, I don't want to go. Or I'm not feeling like it. But sorry. Like, I know technically class is over. I don't mean to like go off on a tangent, but you guys are bringing up some interesting questions that I can't help but answer. I should probably end the recording right here because I don't want to like drag it out. Or actually, you know what? I'll keep it on. I'll just like modify the title and say like plus additional questions from the class or whatever. Because like I feel like this is too bonus basically. I feel like these are just questions that are too good not to record the answers to. What about some literature uses of the past perfect? There are sometimes whole paragraphs using only the past perfect. It's so confusing. I'm reading Howard Lovecraft and it's absolutely everywhere. It feels unnecessary. Yeah, that's the thing. There are native speakers who use the past perfect when they don't really need to. To me, I don't really like it when people use the past perfect when it's not necessary. Now, there are times where they use it and it really won't bother me. But there are times where they use it and it's just like, this is just unnecessary. Stop. Just stop. And, like, let me look up Howard Lovecraft, actually. I feel like, let me look that up for a moment. Okay. I wonder if it is a literary thing. I'm not even sure, honestly. Because, see, I don't really read that much literature from centuries ago. I think the last book I ever read that was from, say, the 1800s was Jane Eyre. And even then, I don't really remember the prose of that book, how it was. I'd have to go and reread it. I don't even remember what I did with the book. I probably have it somewhere here. I just don't remember where. But, I don't know. I'm wondering if the past perfect was used a lot more back then. Maybe it was. I honestly don't know. It's possible because in American English, like, as I pointed out earlier, there are times where people don't use it when they should. Which doesn't really happen as much in British English. Which British English is more like, it's more that they just overuse it. But that, again, I could be wrong. Because I'm not 100% certain about any of this. I'm just pointing out what I've seen based on my experience. So maybe the past perfect was used more often in literature back then. But yeah, using it everywhere is just really, really annoying. It's extremely annoying. It's one of the things that annoys me when I read things written by natives. If you use it when you shouldn't, it's just so irritating. You're putting one extra word that doesn't need to be there. And you're potentially making your sentences sound clunky as hell too. Like the Twilight book series, Stephanie Meyer, the author, she misuses the past perfect a lot, and it's just irritating. It's just irritating to read her prose. And her prose is annoying for a number of other reasons, but her misuse of the past perfect is definitely one of the biggest ones. Oh, I'll see you later, Alien 60. But yeah, like if you learn English for if you learn English to like a fluent or proficient level and you feel that somebody is misusing the past perfect everywhere, chances are they probably are. So just try not to do it, please. It's irritating. Not, no, but of course, I should also point out that there are times where you can say either the past simple or the past perfect, and it would be fine. But you just have a slightly different shade of meaning. So I'm not saying that like you can't ever use it when you have the option to. Just that don't use it if it's not if it's just don't use it if it just hurts your sentence. Just don't. But see you later, Alien 60. It was nice having you in the class. Okay. I honestly have to read an excerpt from Howard Lovecraft to understand his use of the past perfect, but anyway. But I think that's just about it for class. What about other perfect tenses? Do you think other people overuse them? Do you think people overuse them too? No, I think it's just the past perfect that people overuse or underuse. With the present perfect, British English speakers tend to use the present perfect more often than American English speakers, but they don't use it. But they don't use it in a way that's unnecessary. They don't. Like they use it correctly. They just prefer to use it more often than the past simple. Whereas with American English speakers, it's the other way around. So you hear British English speakers say things like, "I've just finished my assignment," or "I have just finished lunch," or "I have just done my homework." Whereas in American English, we would just use the past simple. I just finished my lunch. I just finished my assignment. Whatever the third sentence was, I don't remember. So, but again, even though British English speakers use the present perfect more often, they don't use it in a way that's grammatically incorrect or unnecessary. They just want to express a different shade of meaning to the timing of an event, which is fine. And in Spanish, there's a similar thing going on with European Spanish and Latin American Spanish, again with the compound past or present perfect. But nobody really, I don't think anybody in English overuses the present perfect or the future perfect for that matter. The future perfect is rarely used, so that's not really an issue. And when people use it, they tend to use it correctly. Like it's pretty rare for me to come across someone who doesn't use to come across a native speaker who misuses the future perfect, because normally they do get it right. So yeah, I would say it's just the past perfect that's an issue, not the other ones. What is the difference between "I have been writing articles about various topics" and "I had written articles on various topics"? Well, the first continues into now, into the present. The second started in the past but stopped at some other point and is completely disconnected from the present. Or perhaps you meant to say "I have written articles." Maybe you're wondering what the difference is between the continuous form and the non-continuous form. I don't know. But even so, they all have different shades of meaning. Oh, see you later, Boda. I think Well, does anyone have any other questions? If you translate into Hebrew, it will have the same meaning. Yeah, that's the problem that when it comes to learning English, like certain tenses, aspects, whatever, are mapped to like only one form in the person's native language. So when they learn English and find out there are two different forms for what is essentially expressed with one form in their in the person's native language, that can cause issues. It honestly, the only way to fix this is to just expose yourself to the tenses over and over and over again. Eventually, you will get a feel for them. It's possible. Although, I guess to what degree it's possible depends on the language. Because, for example, Chinese doesn't even have tenses. And Chinese speakers are known for messing up tenses. Even when they're highly fluent, they still mess up tenses on occasion. So it really just depends on your native language. So now, if you're an English speaker, you're not going to have a problem with the Spanish tenses. If you're a Chinese speaker, you will. But it's possible to learn the forms. I will say that it's not guaranteed that you'll get them right to the level of a native speaker like all the time, because again, there are some things in your target language that you might not ever fully acquire, unfortunately. But it's possible to get these tenses right at least most of the time. So yeah. In any case, just to master the English tenses, just expose yourself to them in various contexts. You'll get a feel for them. You will. You'll get a feel for them. You'll get a feel for what you can do with them and what you can't do with them. Why are there so many grammar rules in English? Well, the same could be said for any language. Seriously, there are a lot of grammar rules for Spanish, German, Mandarin, French, Russian. I know it might seem like English is the one with a lot of grammar rules because that's the one that's your target language, that's the one you're learning, but really every language has its difficulties. Every language has a lot of grammar rules. That even a 700-page textbook wouldn't be enough to cover. So yeah, trust me, English is honestly, I don't really think, and I have a reason. I have a scientific reason for this. I don't really think any language is harder or easier than all the others. I feel like they're all about the same in terms of difficulty, because pretty much everyone learns them, becomes like fluent speakers by the time they're 7. Like they learn them at about the same rate. So, like, I really don't think any language out there is harder than the other or easier than the other. Now, of course, we're talking about children here. It's hard to make that case for adults because we're adults and we can't exactly learn a language as perfectly as a child. So, there's some debate about that. But even with that in mind, I still don't think English is harder than any other language. Uralic languages are a lot more difficult than English or Spanish. Maybe. I think it depends mostly on your native tongue. That's something I also should have mentioned. It depends on your native tongue, like regarding how difficult a language is going to be for you to learn. If you know Korean, learning Finnish won't be very hard for you, because they're both agglutinative languages. But if you're Korean, you might have a harder time learning English, because in English the grammar is very different from Korean. Finnish grammar would be a lot closer. Because again, both Finnish and Korean are agglutinative languages. So, and the same goes for Turkish, Japanese, Hungarian, Estonian, whatever. But yeah, again, it depends mostly on your native tongue. But who knows? In fact, some people would actually argue that Finnish is in some ways easier than English because you just have 15 cases instead of a crap ton of prepositions in English. But to me, they're both equally difficult systems. Yeah, I know you mentioned Estonian and Hungarian indirectly, but I figured I would mention those as well because not everyone is going to know what the Uralic languages are. Indirectly. Yeah, like you said Uralic languages. I meant like you didn't outright say the names. That's what I meant. You didn't outright say the names. Oh shit, well I'm dumb. I didn't know what the name for it was in the language. The name for Hungarian was in Hungarian. I didn't know that. I'm sorry. I didn't know that. My bad. Because I didn't know that. Sorry. Get good. Man, stop flexing. I wonder what the name for Finnish would be. I know for the Japanese name for Japanese is Nihongo. Oh, that's what it is in Finnish? Oh, okay. Hey, Rob. Hey! Well, I learned something new today. And English is just English. English is just English. But yeah, I think I'll just end class here. I don't think there's much we can talk about at this point. I'm sure Hebrew has its own set of difficulties. I'm sure it has a lot more grammar rules than just 3, but I guess it's all subjective, really. But regarding perceived difficulty, but anyway. But anyway, I guess I'll end the class here. It was so much fun, though. When are you giving lessons again? Wednesday, I will have a lesson for beginners about how to express your feelings, and I think that'll be the last class I do for a while. But yeah, that will be it for now, everyone. You only have past, present, and future. So you just have the tenses, but you don't have, like, aspects, like the continuous form, I guess. I mean, that's fair. German doesn't have that either. But even so, I guess you'd say that German has more tenses than Hebrew. I don't know. Because I don't know how many tenses Hebrew has. Oh, that was directed towards Rabadab? Oh, I did not even know that. But he's never given lessons. He's never given any. No, see, the teacher role is for people, it's for people who are like, who can be the most trusted regarding, teaching people about English. Like, not like in classes or whatever, but like just giving information. Yeah, so like, you teach people still, but not like in a class or anything. All you just do is give out advice, corrections, whatever. So you don't necessarily have to teach classes to be a teacher here. I didn't have to. I wanted to, but I didn't have to. Really, you can just have the role and be done. That's it. And there are other teachers that don't teach either. Some of them do. Remember Maggie, Alan, G, they used to teach here. Demonade as well. Dino. And I'm sure there are probably a few others, but I can't remember them. Anyway, I think that'll be it for now. But yeah, my last lesson for now will be on Wednesday. I will post more information on Discord later. But yeah, that was fun. Um, anyway, thank you all so much for being here. Oh yeah, that's a good point. MEK Holland. Be patient with your English learning. It might take time, but in the end, it's worth it. Yeah. So just remember, just remember, like, be patient with it. Even if it seems like you're not making progress, you definitely are. As long as you don't use really bad learning methods like trying to memorize vocabulary lists, that's a waste of time. Don't do that. But anyway, thank you all so much for being here. I am Timurler15, and I will see you all next time. So until then, goodbye.